There we go. All right. Let's see. Hope everybody's doing okay today. I think the audio, I haven't done this and it's been months and months and months. I hope the lighting is okay. It's not the time of day that I'm usually doing it, and the time of day is changing. Let's see, what is that notification? I think that notification is me being live. That's funny. Okay, and my watch is still charging and dead. And not on, I guess is the better way to put it. So, alright. I know there's quite a few things that I want to talk about and update everybody, but I don't even know if anybody's going to get this notification because I have not done a live stream in... I know it's been... Well, I've had the job for 3 months. Let me go back and look. Let's see. When did I do my last live stream? Everyone here will probably know better than I. But I know I want to talk. I probably want to shoot a couple videos or record a couple videos because I know I really want to talk about interview prep because I think that's what really helped me, and I want to talk about that, and I want to share. If you're looking, it's really bad out there, and I've been starting to do interviews now on the team, and I can share some things that especially new college grads that need to be aware of. Oh, we got a couple people jumping on. Thanks for jumping on, and thank you for hitting the like button. I appreciate that. But let's go ahead. I don't know who's here. Let's see. Let's go back and see when the last video I made. No, the last live stream I did. Last live stream was, oh my goodness, February 25th. So over 3 months ago. So it was like the week before I started the new job. So I had the job and hadn't started yet. So let's see. Let's kind of go through the process of what I was doing. I had been doing a lot of live streaming. Don't want to do that. Let's pull up some leak code. So I do have to say, everybody complains about leak code. Let's get a leak code up. I thought, because I'm going to actually argue and defend leak code. No, not that. Leak code. There you go. Took me to confident coding. Explore. Leak code challenge. Why can't I pull up some leak code? Leak code problems. There we go. Leak code platform. There we go. So I actually want to talk about this for a second. Okay, good. You guys can't see that. I don't need you to see that. Hey, I don't know who else here, but thank you for joining. Thank you for hitting the like button. Go ahead and drop a comment in chat for me so I can at least know who's here. But all right. So I kind of want to talk about this for a second. You may not... Being leak code challenged, being prepared, I don't think is the end all be all. But putting yourself in stressful situations, I believe is. So I say all that to say this, is that when I got the call for the technical interview, which I kind of want to talk about that interview prep in and of itself. I had been thinking and planning and talking about interviewing and been talking in front of people forever. So, and doing these live streams. So I'm actually going to bring that all back around. So me sitting and doing these leak code challenges and doing the stress of having to sit here and explain to no one and doing it to a screen, that actually made me so comfortable during the interview because here was the situation for the interview, and I'll just let everybody know. So I got a call, and they said, hey, it's going to be an in-person interview. That, first of all, is going to be kind of humorous to everyone here in a second. So my team, it's a small-esque company in the grand scheme of things, but it is a pretty large. It's a regional company, and I don't need to comment too much on where it is, just because access and things. So I went to a local office, local for me, local-esque, a little drive, and I ended up being in a room by myself. If you resolve one of these problems, you have any rewards or interviews to questions related to the problem. Oh, okay. So don't overthink this. So where I'm going with this is, it's not so much the problem itself. What I'm going to comment on is mitigating the stress, because all of us can solve all of these problems. But if you get into the room and you panic and you freeze, and then that's usually where our nerves or our emotions really is what kills us in an interview. So what I want to comment on is the hours and hours and hours of me doing live streams of these challenges. I would say 90% of the success of the interview was that. I had zero stress. So let me paint a picture of this. So there were going to be 3 people in the panel interview. So I got to the room. I got escorted by a member of the larger team into a room, and he said, "Let me get logged in Teams." And I'm like, "Get logged in Teams? What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, everybody's in a different office that's going to interview you. So one was in Tampa, and 2 were in Atlanta." So the reason why I comment about all the hours of live streaming, of why it was so helpful, is it was literally just like a live stream. And we started talking, and I started answering the questions, and a lot of behavioral questions, and then it would lead into tell me about a time of that behavior and what you did in it. And then that was a half an hour of that situation. Then the last half turned into, or the last 30 minutes, and then we went over. Then it was the technical questions, and I had to do it all verbally. So what I have to say, the reason why I want to really highlight this is that we all can answer these questions. They're not overly complicated. They're not impossible to solve, because somebody wrote them. So there is a solve. Now, they can be challenging, but what made it super easy for me, why the interview was literally very simple, was because I had done hours and hours, at-bats, reps, whatever term you want to call. I had sat here in front of y'all and made mistakes and felt foolish and was like, why'd I do that? Why can't I solve this? And would get frustrated. And I literally got all of that out of my system. So as we went through, I was just sitting and talking and looking at a screen, literally just like this. And then what I did is I just thought through the problem. I brought a dry erase board to the interview, and I said, does anyone have an issue if I kind of jot down what I'm thinking? Because I didn't have a computer. They wanted to hear me walk through it. So I just walked them through, and they wanted to see if I knew what in the world I was going to be talking about if I got the job. So that's that. I don't know if that answers your questions related to the problem that you were showing on the screen. Okay, hang on. Or in interviews. Yes, some people pull from these, and I've heard about that, but it was just kind of made up generic questions. And one was a CTE. Now, I do have to say that there was one that I had never even heard about. The last question that I got, it was kind of crazy. I can't tell if I'm still in focus or not. Yeah, there we go. I know I feel like I'm a little red today because I'm not, the lighting's not that great. But all right, so what I had in this example, the last output, let me see if I can get an Excel open. And I loved it. I thought it was great. Hopefully I didn't have anything too crazy there. No. All right, let's do a blank one. And no, and no. So let me bring this over. So I loved it. I thought it was great. So they gave me an input table. This was one of the directors that asked me this. I loved it. I got all borders. Then I got the output table. And it was something like this. And it was, write the query to get this. I was like, what? So it was a bunch of rows. And what the solution was, is it was people over here, and it was an array, and it was an aggregate array. And I had just been practicing aggregate arrays. So it was crazy cool. So, all right. We got quite a few people here. Luis, thank you for asking that question. But what, Nico, how are you doing? Long time no see. I know it's been, I was looking when I was starting. It's been at least 3 months, almost 3.5 months since I have done a live stream. And everybody, thank you for hitting the like button. I really appreciate it. If you have not hit the like button, please go ahead and do that. So let me kind of talk about my day-to-day, what I've become obsessed about in this job is communication. Everybody says that. And communicate, and I think I've done some videos on this, but I'm becoming obsessed with communication. Like simple words. Ooh, I don't need to talk about that story because you'll be able to figure out where I am and what I do. But calculations, people, and we all do this. So I've been obsessed with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Peanut butter jelly sandwich. So, all right. Everybody knows, the reason why this is such a perfect example is everybody knows how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But what I can prove to you is no one can write the instructions of how to create a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So my day-to-day, what has dawned on me is, ooh, let's get Paint open. Do I still have Paint open? I don't. Let's get Paint open. So what I have learned is the people who are extremely successful on my team have extreme social skills, are phenomenal with communicating with business partners, and technical. I need to invest in a pad. Technical. All right. So you are stretched in both directions because the business, they honestly, they couldn't care less. They couldn't care less about technical. They want what they want. Now here's where it gets fun. They want what they want, but they don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. They think they do. But once they start to talk about it and ask about it, what they're saying does not match up. I'm trying to do one of these. That doesn't look right, but it's like no. Like that. So they don't know what they want. They think they do. But what they're saying doesn't match what they want. And the reason why I like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich exercise is because everybody knows how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and they don't think about it. So I became obsessed with this when I was first training people at my 100 years ago job. All right, I lie. 23 years ago job. And I was teaching people how to drive. little forklift. Had all big, tall forklift. Had a little wheel back here, had wheels up here, and the person stood, that's not right, stood here. And they drove, you couldn't see them, but their little feetsies were right there. And they'd lift up, and they'd have their little forks here, and then they'd bring down a pallet, and have stuff on it. That's actually not that bad. Well, once I started to explain these things, and I used my words to get people to be able to utilize this forklift, because you think for a minute, this is simple. Yeah, but it takes a lot. So when you know what process you want over here, and you've been doing it for decades, and then you have to automate it. Woo. Repeating human behavior. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Everybody can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I argue that no one can explain it. So what I mean by this is you say, go get the bread. Okay. We all know that we mean go get 2 slices of bread. But our first explanation, we're going to say, go get the bread. Now, this is to a computer. So a computer has no idea what the bread is. So it goes and gets the loaf of bread, the whole loaf of bread. And you say, put the peanut butter on the bread. So then you smack the jar of peanut butter on the entire loaf of bread. But that's not what you meant. But you know what you meant. That's why I'm so obsessed with actually saying what you mean. Because it's like, well, in this scenario, do this. Well, it's like, I'm going to give you instructions for one scenario, but there's super secret. There's 27 scenarios. I know them all. I haven't thought about them for years, but when I see them, when I put my little eyeballs on them, I know what to do. But if I don't see them, I don't remember them, and I don't explain them, and I don't explain super secret step 25. It's like, but I know it when I see it. And then we go back to peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So, all right. So let me tell you, so once I got the call, I tried to highlight everything that I had known and everything that I did at my last job at Walmart and everything that I had done since I left Walmart. So I talked about being enrolled in boot camps. I talked about the new platforms that I had been exposing myself to with Databricks, because I was very fortunate with my new company. They were migrating from on-premise servers to the cloud using Databricks and moving it over to Azure. So I had been exposed to Databricks, and everything that I did at my last job, we were taking in data, writing it from an app into this is the last big project that I did. The app wrote to our tables that we had in Azure that we had control over. Then it would trigger we had Data IQ. It would trigger and it would look over. Actually, I kind of want to save this. I like this a lot. Save. Do I have a spot for this? 6-1. Can you guys believe it's June already? Live stream. Thank you everybody for joining today, and thank you everybody for hitting the like button. If you've not hit the like button, please go ahead and do that. So all right, let's get a new one. All right. So we had these tables. No, that's not a table. I don't know why this became this symbol for a database, but that's it. So the app would write here, then Data IQ would be peeking, would be looking to our eyes, would be looking at this table. Well, that looks like he's got a black eye. Would be staring at this table and see if it would update. Then it would update, and then it would trigger all of these other queries that I had, and it was a whole bunch of them. It was, because there were 17 pages, and what we did is we automated. We built an automated PowerPoint deck creator. So we had business partners. So I'd already done this dance with business partners. Well, that's not what I said. Oh, yeah, it is. But again, that's one thing that you have to get over with, and you need to help them. So I knew everything about Walmart in the logistics side. And so what I would do is I would fill in the blanks. So now I'm at a new job, and you're going to be shocked how much problem solving it's just the same. It's still tables, still rows, it's still columns. Just the data's different. So I'm having to ask people who have known how to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. PB&J. Let's erase this. Let's see if we can get all this out, and boom. Did I miss anything? No. I think that's my screen of what I'm trying to erase. So they make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day. Now, I have to sit down and have them explain it to me. So in these instances, this is a large regional company, and they deal with, it's highly regulated, and yeah. So all these calculations have to be perfect. Absolutely perfect. So every time I would go through something and I would, hello, Ayesh, my friend wanted to hack on Roblox and installed some free sketching app, and I found his account on a database. He now has 150 long letter password. It has that's funny. That's funny. Yep. If you have a simple password, yeah. At my company, just like Walmart, we have to change our password every 90 days because of brute force hacking. And my current company is very sought after to be. We get phishing emails multiple times a day, and we have to be on top of it. And we even get phone calls of people impersonating internal company members. Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. We've got to be very much paying attention. So all right, so I digress. So where were we? I was talking about the 27 steps. So it's like they know it when they see it, and it's like, well, you know what I meant. No, I don't know what you meant. So it's like, use this column right here. I love that. This was my favorite when I first started on this project. Use this column right here. This has everything in it. And then just simple validation. Just working it backwards. So I had this other column, which was supposed to match. After a certain number of time, these columns were supposed to match, and they didn't. And I was like, why isn't this matching? And then a very tenured teammate on the larger team goes, oh, did we not tell you about this column? And I was like, no, you did not tell me about that column. And they were like, oh, yeah, sorry. And the first thing that made me think of was the peanut butter and jelly example. Everybody, what if a report a phishing button on the phishing leads to a phishing website? That would be messed up. That would be messed up. But it would have to be, I don't think there's a way. Yeah, that can't happen. So that is, and apparently they actually did this a few years ago, the peanut butter and jelly example, but so many people have come and gone because there's a lot of turnover of the newer people because this institution is very old and is growing, and they have a lot of ways that they do things. So people come and go, and the older team members, 20 and 25 years at the company, I think there's a couple 30, and it's a very old company. And these members know everything. it's in their head of how to make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but having to share that knowledge. And we also, just like everywhere else, are struggling with getting everyone to write down the process. Let's see. Let's do 6/1/25 live stream. I'm on that side. Yep. _2. There we go. So let's get over here. All right. What questions does everybody have about what in the world a data engineer does, or how? Because I was very fortunate. So I had a call on Wednesday. Then I had the technical interview Friday. And then I got the offer on Monday. So I was extremely. Hey, baby. You need anything? Okay. I was extremely fortunate because it was, I think when I got this call, I think I had just passed 6 months. So it was starting to freak out pretty bad. Ooh, it looks like that froze. That's kind of bad, not awful. Tried to make it small. I don't need to change that. So then I started, excuse me, everyone. And I started 3 weeks later. All right. I'll kind of walk you through my day to day. But yeah, talking to business partners is a super main. I described it as it's extremely technical. Had an interviewee, technical and extremely social. So to be successful, you can do this one. You're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle a lot because people are going to need to talk to you. So I can't say this enough. Really parsing meanings of words, because everybody means say what I mean what I say. I cannot say that enough of how vital of an understanding that truly is. Let's see. All right. So, all right. We use Databricks. So, it's okay. Binky, how are you doing? It has been. We were just talking about that. It's been over 3 months. It's like 3 months and a week, 3 months and 2 weeks. But, all right. That is awful. Let me start over with Databricks. I'm trying to write Databricks. That is the B. See if I can spell this. I can't remember if they capitalize the B or not. So all right, we use a code base, and we're bringing up a stage environment right now. All right, so the thing that frustrates me with Databricks is we have notebooks. We have notebooks that you can kind of play around, very similar to a editor. And then you have your notebooks in the pipeline, your files. And what drives us nuts is some syntax will work in the notebook that won't work in the pipeline, and vice versa. So you have to have two working scenarios, because we're creating and updating tables and things like that. So you're doing all your tests in your notebook because you don't want the entire pipeline to run. So we have Git and Azure. And sorry, my nose is so itchy. So it's GitHub and Azure. That doesn't look like Azure at all. If you can read that, that's impressive. I think you can make out Git. But then we are storing everything in Azure. That doesn't look like an R. So we're migrating everything from on-prem to the cloud. So we have to have historical data. So we are moving some of the static tables that are just historical over into the cloud. So that's easy peasy. Grab them, throw them over there. Now where it gets fun is when we're having to capture source data. Okay. So let's talk about, well, I can talk about it a little bit. I don't need to get into too much. And new. All right. So we have all sorts of sources, and here's a headache that you have to be on the lookout for. File type, extension. So CSV, text, all of these fun stuff. So what you have to do is, so what we're doing right now is, since as I'm charged with the CI/CD pipeline. So I had homework after I got the interview. My boss was like, I need you to go learn everything about CI/CD pipelines. So right now we're doing a ton of unit testing. And I've already misspelled unit testing. So we're still a very, very, not primitive, not naive. We're very early on in our data journey as this company. So we have an old company and new data maturity. New data maturity, because we have got to catch up really, really fast because of just where we are, our environment that we're in, the type of company that we are, the type of regulations that we have. We've got to upscale this extremely fast. So that is a challenge. We're having to change management is very, very, it's coming in handy. That was one of the things that I did at my old job. I think you can make that out. Change management, process improvement, human behavior. Those are not easy things. But unit tests, because nobody is wanting to write unit tests, because it's like, it works. I know it works. But it's like, yeah, but it's part of validation. Nobody likes validation. I didn't at first. But I began to really understand the importance of it, because it was like your proof of concept. You actually, no, that's not accurate. It tells the story of your proof of concept, and it does all your explaining. When that dawned on me, is that when you have all of your validation and you just go here, and they're like, what about this? And you go, look right here. What about this? Oh, look right here. What about this? Look right here. And you don't have to explain it. You don't have to paint the picture. Your validation, your data does. So once that dawned on me of how important the validation is, it kind of made me understand the unit test was basically souped up validation. And then integration testing. So I think I had told a lot of the older members, time-wise on the channel, that I was doing all of these things. Like, I didn't know I was a data engineer in my last job, because I'm like, my title was a data analyst. So actually, let's talk about that for a minute. Because I was applying, and I was not getting anywhere with I was not getting interviews because I was applying for data analyst roles, and I didn't have any true data analyst experience, because I was a data engineer, and I didn't know it. And I didn't know that I was already doing integration testing, because integration testing is just basically data quality checks. Data quality checks. That doesn't look like a check mark. That does. Data quality checks. And all of these things of building pipelines and moving data from a source, doing something, and placing it someplace else. That's all a data engineer does. Now, this part, whoo-wee, this is where all the magic happens. But if you're a problem solver, you can do this. Everybody can do this if they're a problem solver. And if you've solved any sort of problems, you can do this. So don't let anybody convince you that, now you have to love this. And I've kind of already figured out why people get burnout doing this, because this is the people part. This is the tech part. So you have to love both of these, because the T, the transform, ETL versus ELT. So you every organization is going to, good thing about Linux is you don't need the extension tag. Oh, okay. I think that was tied to Nico's comment. All right. But yeah, the transform. Transform is the social. These two are the technical. And you cannot avoid it. I don't care what you are. I don't care what environment you are, but even if you go and work for just a straight data company, you're going to have to involve yourself and interact with customers. And I would argue that would be even worse. There's no way that I don't think I could ever do a job like that, because you're thinking it's B2B, you would be a we were actually working with a company. Well, we technically still are. He's got a few more weeks on his contract, and he's coming in and helping us, because he's done this before with other larger companies, setting up the change management part, and tailor fitting it to us, and helping me with the change management part of changing the culture to be more focused on TDD, which again, I was doing all these things, but I didn't understand. That's test driven development, dev. So you got DevOps, CI/CD, all of these things, and it's just basically best practices for handling these certain situations and moving forward. So, all right. I know I've kind of been all over the map, but I didn't realize how much I love working. I love this. This is cool, and it's a problem, and you can think through it, but there's so many more problems with the transform, and you're actually helping business, because if you're getting the data to business partners and they're making better decisions, the closer you are to the money and the decisions, the more important and the more sought after, and the more you'll be, oh man, it's still not ready. The more you'll be utilized and woven into the inner workings of the team. Hang on. Check again. I'm trying to get an image that I can place on chat, and chat says everything is held up right now. So, all right. Trying to get an image. I was trying to get it in my thumbnail. All right. Let me see. Does anybody have any questions of like what I'm doing day to day? We've had quite a few people jump on. So if you've not hit the like button, go ahead and do that for me. I'd greatly appreciate it because I've not had a live stream in a while. I was on the fence about doing some videos, but I don't know if the lighting is that great. Let's see. What does this look like? That looks bad. Where's this? Ooh, see, that's not good. All right. Because I did a video for work about our medallion pipeline. Oh, man. Shouldn't have moved. Should not have moved. That looks pretty pink and pretty red, right? I think as Nico says, it looked like a tomato. But it's just a live stream. And everyone here is very cool and laid back, so I appreciate that. All right. So the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Interview prep. Yeah, because I did meet somebody a while ago. They did have a great comment of some interview prep. Know who is going to be in the meeting. So when you get the invite, you see who all is on the invite. Go and read up on what they've done at the company, how long they've been with the company. It shows that you're going to go the extra mile. And I think we've had quite a few people jump in and out of here. So I'll talk over again about what I did inadvertently, or what I had done for months to be comfortable in the interview, is that me live streaming, and I was asked, and everybody wants to talk about what technical things they're going to ask. I argue that's inconsequential to you being comfortable in the uncomfortable situation of being interviewed. Because you already know how to solve these problems, right? You've solved numerous problems before. But what you have to do is you have to find a way to mimic being in the stressful situation of the interview. So you have to differentiate the interview from the question. And what I found was that me doing all of those leak code challenges on a live stream, sitting here talking to you all, but not getting, the only response I would get every so often is a chat or things, and it might be 30, 40 minutes before I get a response, and knowing what you guys are thinking or what you guys are wanting to hear. So I have to be comfortable sitting here for all intents and purposes, rambling on and on, talking about a subject that I like and that I'm comfortable with and that I'm good at. So when I was asked those questions, I could feel myself going, when I looked at the screen, I'm like, this is just another leak code challenge. And so I looked at it. I had done hundreds of them. Had I done hundreds? I had done that for hundreds of hours. How about we say that? And I think you all have been on here. I'm sure we have. Nico's here. I've had numerous problems where I would get stuck and I wasn't sure how to solve it. And then when I'd come back and be like, all right, we're going to solve this one today because it's now annoying to me. So it's kind of like this problem I have at work. We're really close on it, but there's just some really funky math. And I have a good thing about, oh no, we've already done that. I have a hard time not thinking about it because it's sitting out there and my brain will wander and go like this, and go over to it. I'm like, no, I'll deal with that on Monday. So I can't say enough. The interview prep, and like stream on Twitch or stream on YouTube, and you're going to be like, well, no one's going to watch. But you won't care because you're going to be doing these uncomfortable things. It's basically prepping for being uncomfortable. Comfortable being uncomfortable. I think I've done a video on that. I think I've tried to do numerous videos on that. Let's see. Comfortable. Overcoming procrastination. No, I've not done a video on being uncomfortable. So, oh, ABLE. Nope. Comfort. Overcoming procrastination. Okay. So yeah. So here's so you don't become, it's so weird. You don't become comfortable. You just become comfortable with the with the discomfort. I know that sounds so weird, but that's literally what it is. You just begin to feel the stress, and you're at peace about the stress. And I had my last boss, that was what one of his things was. He goes, I want you to grow. I want you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I didn't realize that's what I did when I took the last job, because there's no way I could have landed this current job. And also, let's kind of talk about that. So if you want to get into data engineering and you don't have, so let's talk about my journey. Okay. So I unloaded trucks in the back of a store at Walmart. I want you to follow this. This needs to be drawn out. Yep. Let's save this. And _5. So I have a very unorthodox career. So I literally, here's the trailer door, and there was boxes in it. And had a dock plate in it, and we had this little conveyor that would come around, and little boxes would sit on it, and we would palletize it in the back of the store. So I realized that wasn't going to work, so I went to the warehouse and pallet, and I sat up here and I drove, and I had my little hands, my little bobblehead, and my feet. And I had freight back here. This is awful. So I used to drive the freight around in the warehouse, and it would take, and other folks would put it up in the rack. Well, then I did that job. I drove. That's awful. Then I drove the forklift, and I put the stuff up in the rack. Me driving. All right. So I put the stuff in the rack. Then I became a loader, and I put the stuff back in the truck. Loading up the truck. Putting that. Then I became the reports clerk. So, reports clerk. So, after that, I became a manager. And that was okay, but I knew I didn't want to do that forever. Well, then everything changed at Walmart. The way we were doing things was crazy. We would only do, certain buildings had certain ways to put it, and the term that came out of this for change management was tribal culture. And even inside a team, even inside a building, different teams were doing things different ways. So we came up with process improvement. And that was very interesting to me. So some new team members came in, and we were extremely data driven. And I took to it like a fish to water. I just took to it. We started digging into things, and one of the first projects I was in charge of figuring out why the yard, like where all the trailers are in the yard, why did we have certain problems with times of day? And it was basically peaks and valleys, and we were not matching up the labor to when the moves were being generated. So that was my first project, and this vice president and I became friends. He thought the YouTube channel was extremely cool. That looks like an X. He thought my YouTube channel was extremely cool. And he sent my YouTube channel over to his subordinate, my future boss. And then I got a phone call from that gentleman. And it was before I started doing jiu-jitsu, but shortly thereafter. And this comfortable being uncomfortable. So I guess I say everything that I learned because I could have gone back to the building. I could have gone back to the building and undone everything that I had done. And I could have gone back, actually had the opportunity. I could have stayed with Walmart. I could have tried to find another job, which that wasn't going well. Could have gone back to the manager because we had to move. We were going to have to move to Arkansas, which was a no-go. I could leave and take money, or I could go back to the building and become a manager, or any other job. And I was like, I've worked on this for 10 years. 10 years. And I was like, I'm not gonna undo and insult myself all that hard work and everything that I had learned. And that was challenging for me. I was like, do I know enough? Am I going to be able to succeed? There's so many other people out there trying to get these jobs. But the thing that I did not take into account was my just experience with problem solving. And it's mind-blowing. Yes, do I know everything technical? No, I don't. And I have to reach out to teammates. I'm like, hey, I don't know the syntax here for Databricks. And they're like, oh, try a streaming table. Solves the problem. But the overall, just like here, the overall concept of solving problems, and especially automation, I love that. So my part, which I didn't really understand because I'm mimicking a human being's decisions. So I'm taking all the evidence that they see and they go, okay, in this situation, we did this. I absolutely I did not know that's what was my favorite part of automation, was just which decision happens with certain scenarios. And then I have to put that into a programming language. That is just, I love it. I just absolutely love every piece of it. So, all right. We've had some people jump in that have probably not been here. But all right, unloading. But if you have any questions, please post them. Unloading to data engineer. So what I can't, that's right. So what I can't say, and so people are wanting to jump, like, all right, so if I would have, so I became uncomfortable by quitting my job and added a lot of stress to me and my family. But I was practiced at being uncomfortable. So I would have undone, so I would have not gotten this very, very cool job. And the upper mobility at this company is very, very high because of just, it fits my personality. I fit in with the culture. I'm older. I'm more mature. That solves a lot of problems, and I do feel bad but I was there. I made all the dumb mistakes. I said all the things that I shouldn't have. I still do. I'm extremely immature. That's actually a side note. A lot of my teammates are recent or near recent college graduates. Like, they're actually closer to my kids' age than my age. And when I say closer, I mean like 1 or 2 years. And that's extremely interesting to me. But they've been very welcoming, and we just kind of trade off on what help each of us needs. And I help them with, well, like the silly stuff, like how not to miss emails, how not to get behind on admin stuff, how to plan ahead, all the things that you just have to screw up a lot and annoy your boss with. But like you're shocked. Like I just saw an email that came through this morning when I was at the store. My boss was emailing the team, hey, everybody has coursework that's flagged behind. Get it caught up now. We have more important things to do. Your boss does not want to chase you down to do that. And I have a process. I have a reminder on every Monday. I do all the courses or training that is due that week or the next week. So if anything pops up, I already do it. So it's all these small little things and planning and best way to take notes during a meeting. May make sure that when you're scheduling a meeting, you're using Scheduler Assistant. All of these little bitty things that you just typically have to do. And they're helping me with staying up to date on the new technologies because they are always in it or came out of it during school. But the last batch of interviewees that we've done, I was shocked. They have not been exposed to Databricks at all or any ETL or ELT platforms. And one of our younger team members who came from AT&T. He was the same way. They didn't show him anything in school, and AT&T trained him, where Walmart trained me. Trained myself. Our team trained ourselves. And but yeah, I can't say enough. Python and SQL. Python and SQL. If you can do those two and you can speak to them and you can embed SQL in a Python query, embed a SQL query inside of Python script, I promise you can do anything. And because if you can't do it all in SQL, you can finish it up with PySpark. Or I don't know if this is going to enrage you. I do not like PySpark. I prefer Pandas, and everybody's like, well, Pandas is not as good as PySpark. Yeah, okay. So break it up and put it in Pandas. So yes, PySpark is supposed to be able to handle millions and millions and millions of rows, and Pandas gets bogged down. But I let SQL and the PySpark editor handle that for me, and then I bring it in and I break it up into bits, and then I use Pandas. So yeah, so to move over from, and then we also have two environments. We have our dev and our prod, and to deploy to prod. That's a whole process, and we're actually right now we have one team member, our chief architect. I feel so bad for the guy. Super nice guy, but we have not been able to train everybody else up to our tier 1 level so that he can begin to hand off that process. We have a tier 2 where we're handling code review and reviewing unit testing and validation, but this is just such a process, and it's just a lot. It's just a lot of process. So all right. I know probably only going to be on for a little while longer. Does anybody have any questions about what I do day to day, how I ended up getting into this role? Because when I was studying Python, I was like, do I want to be a programmer? Like, I was really on the fence. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Where am I going to? And it's kind of funny that it ends up being all the way back around to big data, the first article that I read. And it didn't really get into SQL, which you're not going to be able to get away from SQL. But if you know how to program in Python, you can learn SQL. So I highly encourage you to learn Python just for order of operations, because SQL's so weird for how rows and the columns work for order of operations. Like basically a order of operations is like, hey, I want to do this in a subquery or a CTE, which I highly recommend you learning CTEs over subqueries. they're so much easier, and it's easier to do joins on them. So highly recommend. I am pro CTE CTE over subquery any day of the week, any 100% day of the week, because you can, especially if you're going to use a subquery twice, if you're going to use a query twice, and let's say it's 100 lines, you got to read. You're gonna lose your mind finding your place where you were in the query, and you're going to move it over to Notepad++, which you're going to anyway. But if you do it as a CTE and you put it at the top and it just sits there, then you just go through it. So, all right, that's that. Any questions right now before we wrap? If the lighting were better, I would probably record some video. Actually, that's not bad. I'm on the fence about getting one more light over here. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that was dumb. Let's see. Let me come up here. That's still pretty red, right? Here, let me unlock this. And I got all these blotches still. Don't really know why. I tried to cover up a little bit. Right. That still feels very tomatoey, right? See ya. All right, Nico. I'll see you later. I know it's late where you are. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll probably wrap up. I might record some tonight. Let's see. Just realized I'm pretty hungry. We'll kind of I'll sit here for a second. Yeah, I was watching Zach Wilson, and I saw him do a lot. He did a 24-hour. He's the data expert, the boot camp that I had done. He did a live stream, a 24-hour live stream, and he made $57,000 in one day. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to. But I think what I was trying to do is being a data analyst at Walmart didn't really carry a lot of zing, and was not. But now, I don't know how much. I really don't, because I've heard people talking about. Well, yeah, no. I'm just having some security issues, security concerns, talking about how much that I can talk about. So, all right. I don't see any questions right now. So let me see. So I was talking about CT over, unloader. No, why did I do that? Oh, because it was blue. I didn't think that did that in that editor. Unloader to data engineer. Yeah, let's keep those together. Python and SQL. Start with Python. Start with Python. All right. CTE's over. Because I didn't think I'd care for SQL as much as I do, but I really like it. And I've gotten a lot better with it. All right, we've got to do. Did I do the peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Let's look at that. PB&J. Did I? Nope. Peanut butter. Nope. So yeah, I told my boss's boss about the idea about that we need to do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich training, and he loved it because it's just communication, and it shows. Oh yeah, we talked about this. This was the final question. Yeah, I kind of blacked out during the interview too. I know I was asked 3. I want to say that I was asked 4 because the first half hour was behavior, then the second half hour was technical, and then we went way over. It's the standard. Do you have any questions? You have got to have. If you don't have questions, you're not. I mean, you're not an automatic fail, but it's going to be hard. You're going to have done a fantastic. Always ask questions after the interview. And I mean, like, what kind of technology do you use? What's the day-to-day like? What's the culture like? If I begin to get behind, what do you do? What kind of training opportunities do you have? All of those things. How do you handle work coming in? Think about, and what you want to leverage when you get to this part is think about all the challenges you had in your current job, and what do you want to not happen or what drove you nuts in your current or last job, and you just don't want to, you want to get ahead of that now, and you just want to go, these are the things that drove me nuts. How do you guys handle them here? How do you handle business requirements? How do you handle challenging requests? What is your tracking process of current work? Do you do sprints in week or 2 week intervals? All of those things. These are hard. These are hard to come up with if you're getting a job that you've not had before, because you don't know what. This kind of proves that you know about the job. I guess that's what I'm going to say. Maybe ask something like, how do you rate this interview, or the spaces where we can improve on? Yeah, but think about what you just asked. You're wanting to improve your interview, and this wants to prove that you can do the job. Do you see that slight difference there? That would be a question, if you don't get the job, that you would ask from HR. And that's because when you're asking this, you're separating yourself from people with experience. So it would be, if there's a huge, so what I was terrified about is the gap. Let's get here. I was terrified about the gap between, so right now, not having a degree on my resume kills my resume. All right. My experience comes through in the interview. So, and I'm even better at the job. So getting a job is so challenging for me, because if on a scale of 1 to 10, my resume is my worst. My resume is the worst. My interview is the least worst, and my job is the best. So this is why this is so hard for me to come through, because I'm like, I do these very cool things. You want to hear about them? Well, I can talk about them a little bit better, but to articulate, I just wanted to ask you, what are some niche tools that you have used in your current job or industry? Databricks, Get, and that's pretty much about it. Because to get the pipeline to work the way that we have it set up is probably more challenging. We pull down and clone our main branch. I make a branch. I do all my code in my notebook. I test it. I get it working. It does the output that I'm expecting, and then I write it over to Azure. The challenge is Databricks liking your syntax, understanding what syntax, because the more complicated that we have, I have a teammate that she's working on some unbelievably challenging requests that they were then sending off to a third party. So she's dealing with another application team, and it's a handshake agreement. So I think they're using Microsoft MuleSoft. So it's writing to some of their Azure tables over in the cloud, and then she's pulling that into Databricks, running these unbelievably astronomical queries, then writing it back to their tables, some results tables, and going from there. But getting those tables to update and creating slowly changing dimension tables, that was probably one thing that I wasn't very good with, or I wasn't knowledgeable of how important it was. We were doing type 0, maybe type 1, but to create, you need to be very aware of slowly changing type 1 and type 0, type 1, and type 2. Those are all very, very important, and they have different scenarios. But you need to, and I think there's type 3 and 4. I don't hold me to that, but I know there's type 0, 1, and 2. Type 2 is extremely challenging, but it has its use. Type 1, you're just overriding, and type 1, you're just constantly, or type 0, they're all there. You're just writing a new row. Or type 0 might be you're overriding everything. Type 1, you're writing new rows for everything. Type 2, you're editing, appending, updating rows. They all have, depends on your constraints of space, because if you have millions of customers, then each customer is interacting multiple times a day. You're talking about very, very, very large. And then if you get into that and you're taking snapshots daily, begin to think about that. And then you need to come up with techniques to optimize all of these queries. So then you're like, okay, I need to look at the previous day. Was it present? Was it not? The Data Expert Bootcamp, I was very grateful that I took that, because I was able to speak to slowly changing dimension tables very, very, very well. One of the interview questions I had was an aggregate array. One of my teammates at my last job, we had just talked about aggregate arrays, the benefit of them, and then also wrote several queries on dataexpert.io for slowly dimension changing tables of basketball player history. And Zach did an unbelievable good job of picking very outliers of, like, Michael Jordan. Perfect as an example of him retiring, coming out of retirement, and going back into playing basketball, and then retiring again. And you had to handle that. So it was constantly looking, updating, looking again, and it was looking to forward, and it was looking backwards, and you had to handle that. Those problem solving and automating human behavior, not getting so stuck on what tools. You're going to learn the tools, you're going to learn the syntax, but if you can't problem solve and you can't think through a problem and you can't automate behavior, you're going to have a hard time as a data engineer. And if you can't speak to business partners and you can't dissect the word usage, because they're going to use words that they mean different things with each time. Recalculations. We have merged at my company what that word means. And there are words in front of that they say them and they still put them in the same bucket, and they are two separate things. And they have, actually, let me save this, and then I'm probably going to wrap, because I think I need to get a snack before I go to jiu-jitsu. All right. Here we go. Let's do a new one. So here's this bucket, and they're just putting all these scenarios in this bucket and saying it's the same thing. And I'm like, guys, these are two buckets. and my boss is, oh, that's the other thing. If you're not on a team and your boss isn't going to stick up for you, you got to figure out a way. So I asked that during the interview. I was like, how do we handle this if that comes up? And I think there was a comment that my boss's boss doesn't allow business to sell us down the river or something like that. So I knew I was basically interviewing them. So you can weed this out. And then I also said at the end, I said, look, I may not be the most technical. And I wanted to find a forever job. That I was very fortunate to get the interview, but I was looking for a forever job. I needed a job, but I didn't want to be miserable because I'm old. I knew it was going to be the job is going to be stressful enough because not only am I learning the new technology, I'm learning the new data. I'm learning a new industry. I did not want to be someplace where the management was not going to stick up for me. So I was asking that too. So they also understood we're all in this together. So I was basically asking how do we handle pushback? How do we say no? Because that's what you end up doing. How do you say no? That's how to say no. You have to say no in a very polite way. Like, we can't do that. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that until I'm not going to build this until you tell me exactly how to build it. I'm not going to build this until you sign off on how you told me how to do it. I mean, it's like, that's not what I said. Well, I have an email that says that right here. That's exactly what you said. So don't rely on a verbal conversation. That will get you. Writing recap notes, writing recap emails. They feel like a waste of time, but they will save you hours in the long run of tracking down validation. Oh, validation. Validation is nothing more than the beginnings and the seedling of test-driven development. If you can get good at validation, you're already doing test-driven development, so you might as well write the unit tests beforehand and then go on. So, all right. I have rambled on. We have quite a few new people that just dropped in. If you've not hit the like button, can you please hit the like button for me? And if this is the type of content that you like, go ahead and give me a subscribe as well. That would be very, very much appreciated, because we've had 73 people come in and out. That's kind of a lot for me right now in the recent history. So, oops. Oh, yeah. Especially, yep. I got tomato-ness going on over here. But, all right, any super pertinent questions before I wrap? And then, we got folks dropping off. Going once, going twice. Don't know if I'll record any tonight. I got to do a bunch of yard work after. Going to go get gasoline and do a bunch of yard work. So, and I got to figure out something for dinner. But, all right, any last question? Excuse me, that was weird. Any last questions before we wrap? For today. Thank you everyone for coming to join. I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully I'll get back in the groove of making some more videos and sharing my experience and my knowledge. Don't get hung up on specific details. Showcase your problem solving and your people and your social skills. That's gonna propel you, not only propel you to get you in the room, but it's going to make you highly successful. Be a good problem solver. Be a good question asker. Pay attention to the details. I used to have, when I was training people on a forklift, focus on the details and the details take care of you. Focus on the checklist and the checklist will take care of you. It'll keep you out of trouble. But if you're so hyper-focused on technology, the technology is going to change. Databricks didn't exist 10 years ago. Snowflake didn't exist 10 years ago. Data engineering didn't exist 15 years ago. We had data scientists, but we didn't. It's an offshoot of the big data and data science, data engineers. We thought we needed data scientists. Well, we hit that rock, and that rock splintered into 100 other small little rocks. And they're just all over the place. Focus on asking good questions, the social skills, being a good business partner. If you're a good partner to the business partners, I don't know how to, I wish I could say that. Wish I could figure out a way to say that. Be a good partner, be a good data partner, but that doesn't sell the whole story. Be a good partner to your data partners. If you do that and deliver a product better and more detailed and bigger and stronger than they had asked, you will be able to do this forever. Your boss will not care. Your boss will let you do whatever you want to, because they're going to be like, hey, can we have so-and-so work on the next project? Because it went really, really well. They delivered and it works. That's all they want. They want to focus on, they want a tool so they can do their job. They don't care about the tool. You're supposed to care about the tool. PB&J, remember? Yeah. Focus on the tool. Learn everything you can about the business, and the more you interweave yourself in with them, man, you'll get to be around forever, and you'll be sought after, and they'll obsess over you. So obsess over their ask, obsess over their detail. Be like, hey, you said this the other day. What did you mean by that? And they're like, oh, and they'll talk about it and help them write the instructions of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Help them write a better instruction manual. All right. Okay. So, all right. No more. Don't see any more questions. I think that's going to be about it. But thank you everyone for coming to join today. I greatly appreciate it. It's been awesome. And we will hopefully do this again a lot sooner than we did the last time. But I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. Some of you, it's already the next day. So hope you have a good Monday. Hope everybody has a good rest of their Sunday. And I will see everyone next time. Thank you, everyone.